Hello to another great event that started today in India, Global Chess League 2025. For those of you who don't know what is happening right now, let me quickly tell you that's a team event. 6 teams, it's a draft system, so basically there are some team managers, they picked up their best players, and now those teams will compete against each other. There's no specific, let's say, requirements as to how they pick. Let's say one team picks Hikaru, one team picks Alireza, the third team picks Fabiano, and so on and so on. So the players and the teams. So we have American Gambits led by Hikaru Nakamura. We have Triveni Continental Kings led by Alireza Firouzja. Alpine SG Vipers led by Fabiano Caruana. PBG Alaska Knights led by world champion Gukesh. Dommaraju. Anand is still playing and he is leading Ganges Grandmasters, and then upGrad Mumba Masters will be led by Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. And in the first round, we had the following matchups. So we had, I'm not sure how can I show you what would be the best way. Yes, let's quickly take a look. Triveni Continental Kings versus Alpine SG Vipers, and we will start looking at that match. So Alireza is playing with Fabi with white pieces. So the system is interesting. So let's say Alireza is playing with white, and all his teammates are playing with white pieces. Wow. So they're basically, I think, playing 2-round system. So basically, they will play against each other 2 times with white and then with black. And if, let's say, Fabi wins with black in the following game, he gets 4 points. While if Alireza wins, he only gets 3 points. There is an advantage for black in terms of like winning the match. So white pieces, Alireza plays against Fabi and starts with e4. We haven't seen Alireza, performing great this year. He didn't qualify for the FIDE candidates, and we of course will miss him because he's still one of the best chess players on the planet. And yes, such tournaments kind of help him stay consistent, stay in shape. d5, knight f3 g6, and now d4. c takes d4, knight d4, bishop g7, and we transpose to the dragon at c3 line. Bishop e3, knight f6, bishop c4, castle, bishop b3, d6, and now f3. The classical position, nothing really happening here. Bishop d7, king d3. King d3, by the way, I have seen it for the first time in my life. I'm not sure what the idea is. Of course, I have seen king d2, I have seen h4, and king d2 is what I played in all the board chess as well. But king d3 is something definitely new. Knight d5, king d2, and now okay, because I have no idea why would you play king d3, because black wants to play knight d5 themselves and then want to jump on c4 with knights. I mean, why you would allow them to play to the tempo? I'm not sure. Maybe no, I have no explanation honestly. One castle, knight c4, takes, and now king goes to b1, king c7, knight c2. In following structures, I mean, let's say after a move like d5, which was late in the game, I mean, I really like black's position here. Because b4, rook c8 is coming, a5, a4, I mean, the attack is just strong. But something interesting happened. Knight f4, 5, and now g4. I mean, Alireza doesn't really have choice here. Because he either just stands doing nothing, or he's going for something for a counter-attack. So, rook c8 was played, g takes h5, b4, h takes g6. And by the way, b4 looks absolutely logical. Like, you want to chase the knight, you want to attack it. Knight e2 doesn't really look good, because then now all 3 pieces are. I'm actually wondering if there, let's say, if knight e2, is there just rook c2? I'm just wondering, yes. Currently, there's just rook c2. The point is, if king c2, there is bishop e4, and black queen and queen, and if king c2, once again, bishop e4, once again, the position is into loss. And I honestly think that Fabi probably thought that he's completely winning here, but h takes g6, and it's not so easy. G takes f7, king f7, and queen g2. And now it turns out that queen g6 is coming, rook g1 potentially is coming, and it's actually insane that Alireza managed to find this, and that's actually a great game to watch for specifically Dragon Sicilian players with white who played with black. because that's very educational. E5 was played, rook h1, it now takes, now queen g7 will be followed. That's exactly what happened, and now queen g6 was played. So, the best move is queen g5, which is, kinda tough to understand why it's the best, but apparently, let's say takes, I think, queen f5, king f7, rook g6, and king f7, I think rook g1 comes, and no way to stop rook g7 from happening, and the game would have been over. But queen g6, okay, now queen f5 still is the idea, queen f5, king f7, rook g6, and the same thing happened. Bishop e4, rook g7, queen a8, rook e7, king f7, rook g7, and after queen f6, Fabiano admitted his loss and resigned the game. In the second game of this match, Wei Yi was playing against Anish Giri. Both players will be participating in FIDE candidates next year. E4, e5, Anish responds with e5, doesn't play Sicilian defense. Knight c3, knight f6, d4, takes some VP on the game, king c4, bishop d4, bishop d2, and you might probably wonder why Wei Yi chooses such a stupid opening, and I'll tell you. Nobody wants to reveal their opening preparation in games that don't really matter, and that's kind of the case. So of course, players will kind of avoid their mainline crap. Anish could probably play c5, but he plays a5 on the first move, which I don't see him play often on this level. Means yes, both players are trying to avoid theory. Of course, Anish would play e5, let's say, against someone like Magnus, because it's just very solid. But okay, he plays c5 a lot, so you never know. Bishop a5, king a1, a6, knight e2, b5, knight f4, bishop c8, g4, and now guess what? This attack is coming. So what's interesting, I played this position a lot in bullet chess because I play e4, e5, and then d4, and I kind of get the same structure and position. And let's see how Wei Yi plays here. g5, mistake, knight e5 attacking the pawn, rook goes to g3, b4, a8 b4, knight b4, and now knight 5. And now after knight d5 and takes, white have a slight edge. c6 was a mistake, knight f3, king b6, king c3. Actually, Anish, it looks like he pressed blue. At the same time, has this d6 weakness, potentially f4 is coming, this knight will have to go bishop c4, g6, and the attack might be just too strong. So pawn goes to d5, he takes d5, bishop d7, f4, knight g6, and bishop c4. And as I said, now f5, g6, and white will smash black on the board. Knight f4, with something bishop b3, you still have an opportunity to blunder a stupid fork. He takes c6, bishop b6, and now after rook f1, the knight is under attack. So bishop c4, rook goes to f4, bishop b6, and now knight f5, threatening checkmate. Rook takes, and now rook c5, holding on to this pawn. Rook e1, king e1, 5 rook c5, king g5, king b1, and this is just a monstrous pawn, which cannot be really stopped. c7, king e4, king a2, king e7, d3. There are not a lot of checks on the board. King e3, king d7, king e3 trying to basically, threaten the rook, but king f5, king f7, king f6, 6. Now this rook is under control. This check doesn't really matter. King d5, 6, rook d5, king d8, and Anish admitted his loss, and Wei Yi won the game. And as you might see here, this match finished in the favor of Triveni Continental Kings, where Firouzja and Wei Yi played a huge part. Now we get to the second match, Gansh's Grandmasters and upGrad Mumba Masters, where Anand on the first board was playing against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, and he starts with e4. Maxime responds with d5. Maxime is again well known for his c5 and d6 and Sicilian defenses, specifically neither, but plays e5. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castle. Bishop e7, d5, bishop d3, d6. Try Lopez on the board, nothing interesting is happening. h3, bishop b7, 4, rook e8, knight d2. Now white can make a draw if they really want to. Knight g5, rook f8, knight f3, and then they repeat the position. Knight d2 instead, bishop f8, 5, and knight d8. Now knight goes to d7. There are a lot of pawn breaks with c6 or c5, but let's see how black played. Knight c5, bishop c2, and now c6. c4, knight goes back, bishop c6, bishop g5 is a mistake. h6 was played, bishop either had to go back or take on f6, but now with two bishops on the board, I think it's actually not a bad position. And after d5, pawn break in the center, it's tough to create anything with white pieces. Knight d5 is played, queen c2, knight f4 attacking opponent g2, and after queen f5, it looks like, okay, white suddenly started creating a lot of threats. But simple g6, knight f6, king g7, knight d8 through e8, king c2, the exchange was sacrificed, but now the problem along the light squares. And it's really tough to play on with white. Rook e2, king c8, now queen comes all the way to h3, knight h4, knight f3, sacrifice it back, king f7, rook f1, f4, and simply admitted his loss. Because knight f4, he has to kind of threaten this bishop, but after queen h3, guess what happens? Queen h1 is about to happen, then queen g2, king e4, and the game would be over. And let's say queen h2, king g4. Still, the game is simply over. Let's say queen g3, you can take, and then play rook e3, and there is no way to take this bishop. This pawn will be captured. This will be captured. Even if we lose this bishop, potentially, we just have a bunch of pawns, and just like that, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave ended up winning this chess game, and they ended up winning the match 17-4. And we get to a very exciting game, very controversial one. Hikaru Nakamura versus Gukesh Dommaraju. American Gambits versus Alaskan Knight. e4, c5, knight f6, g3, e5. Once again, Hikaru plays some nonsense. e5 takes, bishop g2, knight c6, castle. By the way, I played the same nonsense against International Master, TB game, just because I wanted to kind of, get my opponent off trap. So I decided to kind of do some crazy stuff, playing this line exactly. e4, bishop f7, d takes c5, and now Gukesh has escalated pawn on d5. Knight c3 castle, bishop g5, putting pressure on d5. Oi. So 4 knight e4, bishop f7 takes, and now knight e1, knight goes to d6. Knight d3, rook e1, queen f3 attacking the bishop, and now g6. I think Hikaru definitely likes his position. This pawn is blocked. Knights are in the middle. The bishop is potentially extremely annoying as well. a3, a5, queen f4, rook c8, 2, knight d8, rook e1, knight d6, and now queen goes back to d2. So computer wants white to play queen f5, but queen f5 I kind of agree with Hikaru that queen d2 looks safer. Rook c7, h3, rook c8, king e1 protecting the pawn, and now h5 is played. And Gukesh seems, comfortable here. He puts pressure. Hikaru is very, very passive on both king side and queen side. 4 takes, and now after bishop g5, rook e2, I'm not sure why Gukesh decided to honestly sacrifice everything here, because bishop g5 and knight f4 looks like just a way to make control, while let's say something like king d6. If you want to control f4 square, king d6 probably is a better option, and then you might consider going bishop g5 next, and I don't know, then maybe knight f4, but bishop g5 and then knight f4, it just looks very comfortable for white. Now, there's just not too many ways to, get something going. Let's say king b2, I think there is even bishop g6, and, black might actually lose the game, because take, rook comes this way. Now it's going to be tough. And king g7 was played to avoid exactly the consequences of bishop g6. Now, once again, if you decide to take, which was possible, rook e7, and Gukesh was probably scared of just getting this rook e7. So instead, he plays queen f6, playing solid, rook e1, bishop 5, queen f4, queen f3, and queens are traded off the board, and the game ended in a draw. But Hikaru's team ended up winning. So there are 10 days of team chess action. It's going to be fun to watch. You saw some games, and every day it's only going to get better and better and better. The final format would be basically they will be playing, I guess, semifinals or finals, basically best two teams, and then third and fourth place against each other as well. I'm not sure. I'll let you know in next recaps. But that's it for today. Let me know if you watch this event. 'Cause, I mean, I've been waiting for it quite a while because I have been following this event last year, 2 years ago, and now it's still interesting to see because so many strong participants, so many strong players to look for. The games are interesting. It's rapid time control, so it's exciting. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the recap tomorrow. Bye.